Welcome back everybody to the channel. This is Stéphane on the French Cooking Academy, and this week, very special, I am taking you back to my childhood days with a kid-friendly recipe that I used to eat when I was a kid. My mom used to make it, and you can find it even at school. It's a very simple recipe called the gratin de jambon sauce aurore, which in English is basically rolls of ham, and that are placed in a baking dish covered in a pinkish colored sauce called the sauce aurore. The sauce aurore means the color of the sunrise or the sunset, and because it gets that kind of reddish, pinkish, like a beautiful skies, like you would have imagined in Florida or something when the sun goes up or down. And I'd like to rename that sauce actually for the occasion in English, the gratin of ham with sunset sauce. Now let's discover this recipe together. Alright, so in terms of ingredients, this is, like I said, something very simple and it has to be kids friendly. So the flavors are very kind of neutral. So all what we're going to be using is a standard ham, and we're going to make a bechamel sauce with a little bit of cream and some tomato sauce. Serve this with pasta, and for the flavoring, just an onion, salt, no pepper, and a hint of thyme. That's it. When it's all done, we're also going to cover the whole lot with cheese, because of course, when you have a gratin, you want cheese. And when you're a kid, you know that kind of mix of beautiful kind of tomatoey sauce with the cheese on top. Ooh, delicious. Anyway, all the ingredients listed in the video description. Okay, let's start. So the good thing about that recipe is that really there's nothing really complicated. All what you need to do really is the sauce. And the sauce is called a sauce aurore, which is a bechamel sauce that has been improved with cream, flavoring, and a little bit of tomato. Now that sauce exists in the Escoffier style, which is more elaborate, but this is the home version of the sauce aurore. We're gonna start by making the roux. You always start by this, equal amount of butter and flour. So I'm using a low heat in a pan. This is a saucier pan, and I'm gonna melt all my butter first. As soon as the butter is melted, you add all of the flour in. I'm going to mix well, still on low heat, and we're going to incorporate with the butter. Once you've got your compound of butter and flour together, you're going to leave it to rest, and you're going to cook it on very low heat for 3 minutes top. If you want, you can kind of move it around a little bit, but you can kind of let it sit like this a little bit and let it cook. After 3 minutes, turn the heat off, and we've technically made a white roux, which is the base of a bechamel. When it's done, you're going to turn it around, and what we're going to do, we're going to leave it to cool down. Okay, so we're going to put it off the heat and let it cool down totally. If you want to accelerate the cooling down, you can place your pan in a little bit of cold water to really cool down the bottom of your pan, and that's going to accelerate the cooling process. And that's going to give us time to prepare the milk. Right, so now that the roux is cooling down, we're going to warm up the milk. Now the only way to get a bechamel that is tasty is to infuse your milk with some flavoring. So you're going to start with 2 cups of milk. This is whole milk, and it's not a light one. And in here, I'm just going to put a branch of thyme, a very small bay leaf, 1 small onion cut in 2 with a little clove on here, in here, okay? And I'm going to turn my heat, same thing, on low. We don't want to rush anything. We want the milk to go slowly to a boil. I'm gonna add 2 pinches of salt and no pepper, because remember it's kids friendly, trying to keep it really neutral. All right, so I'm gonna wait for this to warm up, and we're gonna keep the taste great by adding, I think, a little bit of chicken stock, using a chicken stock cubes, because like I said, this is the home version, so I want to make something that everybody can make at home. Okay, so my milk is hot enough, and I'm just gonna add about 1/4 to 1/2 a stock cubes, and these are chicken stock cubes, organic ones of quality. Don't go and buy the very cheap one full of chemicals. It's not because it's a stock cube and that it means that it's bad quality. And the reason I'm doing this, normally you would use real stock, but I am conscious that at home we don't all have access to a stock. All done. It's been 1 or 2 minutes extra. You can taste your milk to make sure it's not too salty. It's got the good flavors. Very nice. And I'm going to turn the heat off, and we're going to mix this with the roux. So for the bechamel, we're now taking the roux that is pretty much cold, and all what we're going to do, the heat is off under my pan here, and you're going to get some of your milk first. You pass it through a sieve, and it's nice and warm. And using a whisk, or here I'm using actually a roux whisk, which is a flat whisk. I've never really tried that before, but it can scrap the bottom. And we're gonna start to incorporate like this first. I'm using that whisk first to kind of detach everything at the bottom. And make sure, and there's nothing at the bottom like this, okay? Hold on, you got a nice and thick mixture, and now we're gonna add the rest. Up, all of the milk in. And we're gonna continue to mix and blend the whole lot. Alright, so little correction here. When I started with my roux that was cold and I started pouring the milk, I said, make sure the heat is not on. And my heat was actually on, I didn't realize. So make sure for you at home, you start with heat off. You pour the milk over, and when you got that mix, then you turn the heat on low, and we're gonna bring this gently to the boil while whisking. Alright, so as you can see, the first bubbles appear on here. I'm gonna put this even on lower. And we've now created the base Béchamel. These types of thickness is called a Béchamel for gratin. It is the special thickness for bakes. Not all Béchamel are the same. So because it is so thick like this, we're gonna add some extra ingredients. I'm gonna add 50 ml, but you can go to up to 100 ml of heavy whipping cream. And that already is gonna add a silkiness to your sauce that is unbelievable. And also, we're gonna get that nice consistency going. Hold on, so the bubbles are coming back, and basically what we've done here, we've transformed a bechamel sauce into its derivative called the sauce crème, okay? And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna retransform that sauce crème into the sauce aurore, that sunset sauce. And for that, I'm gonna use some tomato. Now the color depends on the quality of the tomato sauce you're gonna be using. This is a homemade pasata. It's something like a prepared kind of tomato sauce, but you could use tomato paste, you can use a sauce from a shop. It doesn't matter. All what we want, I hope I didn't put too much, actually I've been a bit heavy-handed, is to get a nice kind of pinkish color. Now, is this red enough? Yesterday I was driving, I think honestly the sunset was a bit more red, so I'm going to add a little bit more intonation of tomato. But don't overdo it, otherwise the whole sauce is going to just take like tomato, and that is not what we want. And that's it. I think I've got the color I want, and this is it. We are done. I'm going to turn my heat off. If you want, you can leave it to reduce a little bit more, but that's it. And now tasting time. I think the tasting is always my favorite part. Now look at first the consistency. See, it's nice and thick, but perfect for a gratin. Let's have a try. Oh, you can feel all the components. And a little thickness, you know, you got the bechamel and a hint of cream. And that tomato, it just kind of, it's like a little bit of like drinking a wine. There's all this flavor coming one after another on the palate. But I think it really still needs to be cooked with the ham to get that kind of meaty intonation to get it perfect. So my pastas are ready, but when you are ready to serve, count 15 minutes before in order to just create the gratin. It doesn't take long, 15 minutes. So what do you need? First off, you need to preheat your oven at least at 200 degrees Celsius. I'm using a fan-forced oven with the grill on. The top element is on, that's gonna kind of crisp everything. I'm using a large baking dish. The reason for that is that I want to leave space on the side for the ham to crisp up instead of boiling in a small dish that's going to be covering with sauce. I want that kind of crisp effect. All right, a little bit of butter at the bottom, and I'm going to start by laying down a little bit of sauce. Next, all I'm going to do is take my ham, leave a little gap in between, and that's it. You know, it's a bit of a kid's dish. It's nothing complicated. You don't have to make it fancy. There's no extra seasoning. I'm not putting salt, pepper, anything. That's it. And now more sauce. Hold on. So I've warmed up. Make sure the sauce is warm enough. And all what I'm going to do here is make sure I've got a bit of sauce at the top of each piece of ham here. If you want, you can also leave some room actually on the side, like I said, to crisp up a little bit of the ham. Okay. And that's about it. Last step, of course, the cheese. So as you can see, to show you, it's been grated quite thick. You can put a little bit like this, or you can go all out and put lots of it. I'm gonna be generous. And that's it. Now I'm gonna put this in the oven Full steam ahead and make sure and try, at least we'll see with my oven, and try to crisp everything up. We're not cooking the ham as such. We're just making a gratin and we just kind of try to crisp up everything. That's it. So I'm going to use, I think, 15 minutes or so. I'll tell you the exact time at the end. It is just out of the oven and yes, look at that. I've got the crisp I wanted. Look at this color, that kind of sunset color. You see that pinkish color? I'm going to try there. Oh, yes. Memories, memories. And basically, that's it, you know. It actually took me 20 minutes and I crank up the heat to 220 degrees Celsius. So I'm just gonna wait a little bit before I take one out because this is lava hot. And then of course, we're gonna try it out. All right, so let's do this. So basically, when I was a kid, we'll start with a little bit of pasta in your plate. Okay, and then a piece of ham. Okay, so basically here, it's all the matter of getting one, or perhaps two of these lovely ham with a little bit of sauce. It's a bit messy, but let's dig in. So it's a children kind of dish. I know it's not Michelin star, whatever, but go away dish. Now, time to taste. What we want is a piece of the ham here. So you see they're just like ham. When you're a kid, ham and noodles or pastas like this and a bite full. That's it. The ham taste. Wow. Oh, it's the ham. It's the ham that... Oh, let me take a bit more sauce from the dish. Look at that sauce. The sunset sauce with the pasta. Oh, I'm back there. Absolutely lovely. Now, let me clean up the mess of it. Now, I put back the portion, but what a trip in memory lane. I mean, that dish with the little crispies. I mean, when I was a kid, you know, you want to do this on the dish. You see this? And the little crust of cheese that detach like that. And you can grab them and eat them. And that ham with that sauce, oh, it's so beautiful. So if you have kids and you want to try something and that's easy with pasta, that's perfect. It's really plain. It's with that little tomato intonation. It's absolutely beautiful. But that completes that special recipe of the week, guys. It was a great memory, you know, back for me, like going back to all these good times in France. And I really hope you're going to try this one recipe because it's really something that means a lot to me, and I like to dedicate the name and call it, remember, the gratin of ham with a sunset sauce. As well as if you have any questions about that recipe, drop me a comment in the comment section. If you want to show your picture, go on Instagram, hashtag French Cook Academy. If you want to follow me, you can on Facebook, also on Patreon. We've got a Patreon support page, and if you want to learn more technicals about French cooking, you can join the online culinary school. As for me, I see you all next week with another classic French recipe. See you all. Take care. Bye-bye.